to What's Hot Harlem America with G. Keith Alexander. The crossroads where culture, lifestyle, and community meet, all hosted by the legendary New York radio TV personality and proud Harlem American, G. Keith Alexander.
Well, hey, hello there. How are you? How you doing? Welcome to What's Hot Harlem America with G. Keith Alexander, the crossroads where lifestyle and culture meet. Now, wherever you're listening from, welcome to the neighborhood. We're hanging out together in Harlem, America. And today in the What's Hot Spotlight is Mr. Keith David. Yes. And let me tell you a little bit about Keith. Keith David is a classically trained actor, winning 3 Emmys out of 6 nominations, as well as being nominated for a Tony Award. He starred in the recently concluded TV series Greenleaf for Oprah Winfrey's own network. Upcoming films include Horizon Line with Allison Williams, that's from the movie Get Out, and also Black as Night for Amazon. So ladies and gentlemen, Keith David is What's Hot. Hello there, Keith. How are you?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you very much. I'm taking us to Facebook, if you don't mind, saying hello to all of your friends and folks who are
Hey, everybody
fans.
on Facebook, what's happening?
Yes. So, hey, welcome home. You are a Harlemite or a Harlem American. You were born here, right?
Yes, I was born in the old Harlem Hospital.
The old Harlem Hospital, huh?
Yeah, quite a while ago. And you know, my mother's from Harlem. My father, though born in South Carolina, was also raised in Harlem. So,
Well, let's take. I'm sorry. Say what?
and my grandmother.
And your grandmother, huh? Let's take the Wayback Machine and let's start there. Let's start your early childhood. What made you decide to take up acting while in high school, or even before high school, right?
I was in the very early grouping of the Harlem School of the Arts, which was across the street from my other grandmother, my father's mother. On St. Nicholas Avenue. I was at the Presbyterian Church, St. James, across the street. Now it's like half the block or almost the whole block. But back in those days, it was just the building. And I started that when I was about 12. I started there when I was 12, studying formally, and I just wanted to be an actor my whole life. That's all I know. And so, I was fortunate that they took me seriously enough to enroll me in that school. And then from the Harlem School of the Arts, the following year, I got into performing arts, high school. So I went to PA. From PA, I went to Purchase in New York. I got kicked out of Purchase in New York. and then I spent a year with the Negro Ensemble Company.
Oh, okay.
And then in '75 I went to Juilliard.
Well, okay. So now you went to Juilliard. I've got quite a few friends that went to Juilliard, and my son's mother she went to Juilliard as well. She ended up being an Alvin Ailey dancer, Sherelle Mesh. Yeah. But before you went to Juilliard, you were in The Wizard of Oz.
That was my first play. I was 9 years old in the 5th grade. And at the time, the Cowardly Lion was my favorite character, in the piece. And then I got to play it. I didn't even know it was a play at the time, but until there, Mrs. I remember her name was Mrs. Zimmerman, Mrs. Zimmerman, and Mrs. Gorodna.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know whether you remember. There was a cartoon back in those days called Tubby the Tuba.
Uh, Vaguely.
Yeah, you know, boom, 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 boom,
Oh
boom,
yeah, 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 yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Mrs. Gorodna's husband wrote that.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
I didn't know that. And in fact, it was they who recommended that I audition for performing arts, and I went to the, I was in IS 61
Hmm. Hmm.
intermediate school.
Well, now after you graduated from Juilliard, uh, you got discovered by Joseph Papp, and you got a chance to play a Shakespearean character called Tullus Aufidius. Is that it?
Tullus, or Phidias.
Tullus Aufidius.
Yes.
Now you got thrown into Shakespeare. What was that like?
Well, I mean, I spent 4 years at Juilliard, studying Shakespeare the whole time. Uh,
Ah.
that's what we did. We did Shakespeare, Moliere,
Hmm.
all the classic uh, elevated text. So I was prepared. I mean, I hadn't at the time I hadn't heard of Coriolanus, but it was a phenomenal experience. Actually, my that summer, the shake in the park they'd always do two plays. So I had seen Coriolanus downtown.
Hmm.
They were moving it up to the park with Morgan Freeman. Um, 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 Denzel Washington was in that company.
Hmm.
Um, Earl Hyman was in that company. It was CCH Pounder
Mm,
was
she
in
was
that
there.
company.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, it was a phenomenal group of actors, phenomenal. But I was actually hired for the play. I was at, my first job actually hired at the Public was to understudy Raul Julia in Othello.
He was a
That was
great actor
that
too.
was the job I was hired for, and then sort of as a bonus, I got to be in the chorus of of Coriolanus. But once I got that job, then the next thing I was chosen to understudy Robert Christian as Tellus Ophidius, and then the wonderful sort of full circle of that was 10 years later.
Hmm.
I actually got to play Ophidius uh, with Christopher Walken
Wow.
playing Coriolanus with Irene Worth, and for that I got a Sinclair Bayfield Award, which is for a Best Supporting Actor in a Shakespeare role.
Wow. So now is Shakespeare, because you've got that voice, that commanding voice, uh, it lends itself to Shakespeare.
Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that, you know, you use what you got, but I mean, um, I happen to also love the language.
Hmm.
It certainly all that certainly helps, but I mean, when there are a lot of wonderful actors who once you embrace Shakespeare, um, you get to use all of the juice that you have at your disposal, and so even if you didn't necessarily think you had um, a voice, whatever that means, uh, doing Shakespeare will give you some of that. Well, using those words, but I've also learned that they used to call Langston Hughes the Bard of Harlem. He used to be our Shakespeare. And now it's August Wilson.
Yeah, yeah.
If you get to do some of August's work, all the stuff that you learn how to do in Shakespeare, you can apply to August Wilson, um, because it's all about language, rhythm. You know,
Well, you've done August Wilson.
I have.
Which play was it?
On Broadway, we did Seven Guitars. Here in Los Angeles, at the Taper, I've done Joe Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Also did Ma Rainey.
Okay. Well, speaking of seven guitars, Mr. Stephen Pitalo, do you know who he is?
Stephen Patello.
Yeah, Stephen Pitalo. He was the publicist. And this morning I woke up and he sent me, very nice of him, to send me a photo of the opening night party for Seven Guitars on Broadway. And in that photo, we have, let's see, who else is in that photo with you? Uh, it's Denzel and, oh, wait a minute, I just lost it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So in this photo with you is Savion Glover, Ruben Santiago Hudson, Lawrence Fishburne,
Oh yes,
the late Tommy Hollis, George
yes,
C. Wolfe,
George C. Wolfe. Yes, I
yeah,
have the picture.
and the late Gregory Hines, and Lynn Whitfield.
Yes,
Now,
indeed.
that's a great cast of characters there, and you just finished playing a role in uh, Greenleaf with Lynn Whitfield.
Brooklyn Whitfield. Yes.
Yes. Tell us about that cast and about the role that you played, the bishop. And I mean, that that series, it went on for about 5 years, I believe. And you played a powerful character, but your family being in the church was whew, off the chain.
Well,
Tell us about that.
if anyone, it was one of the great times of my life. Um, Again, I got to, live a dream. One of my, I used to, besides being an actor, always wanting to be an actor, I used to dream about being a preacher. And I've played several preachers before, but this time I really got to explore what it's like. What is the family life of the preacher? Because it's one thing to be in, to have the pulpit experience and to be in church. But Greenleaf was an exploration of what life was like out of the pulpit. So I got to live out a fantasy. That was fantastic. There was that was it was one of those wonderful gifts, from God. And Craig Wright and Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
I thank God for these people because it was a great experience. And as you mentioned, we had a phenomenal cast. Many times when you're talking to an actor and they talk about the project they're working on, it's a wonderful cast, and it's that's a great experience when you get to work with a cast of people whom you love and get along with. You do form a family, and this one, I feel greatly fortunate. I don't have to lie about anybody. There's no one I didn't get along with,
Uh,
you know, and so that was great. You don't find that every day. I mean, you listen in your own. I mean, as you saw demonstrated in Greenleaf, within the context of your own family, you don't like everybody.
that's
You sometimes you want to love everybody,
Mhm,
but that doesn't
mhm.
mean that you always do.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, at the end of the day, they're people, and they're people who you don't like in this world. And if there were anybody else, no one would question that. It's only because your family. They're your brother. They're your sister. You should like them. No, then they're not nice people. They're crappy people. And if they really belong to any other family, you wouldn't even question me why I don't like them. You
Wow,
know,
you're right. I always say something like, we've got less than a minute, but I always say that if it's not just, if it's not your sister, it's your brother that's acting up.
but,
We are going to take a short break here, and but when I come back, I want to talk to you about some of the film roles and your singing, and of course, we're going to talk about voiceovers as well. Thank you so much for listening to What's Hot Harlem America with G. Keith Alexander. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That's the wonderful Kevin Branai. And want to say you can subscribe to What's Hot Harlem America on your favorite podcast network or social media platform. We'll we would love to have you. Now we're sitting here with the wonderful illustrious actor Mr. Keith David. And Keith, we were talking earlier about your being the bishop in Greenleaf. Was there anything challenging about that particular role?
um, I mean, every role has its inherent challenges.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest challenge is to keep it real, and not get preachy, not get stuffy, not get not get any number of things, but the main thing is like to keep it real. You know what I mean? You don't want to start pontificating and getting like that. It's like when suddenly you're acting Shakespeare and you want to put on your Shakespeare voice as if that means something more. But keep it real. And that was we had a wonderful director in Clement Virgo,
Mm-hmm.
who he was our executive director, and he directed at least 4 episodes a season. And he was always, he'd come up to me all the time. Too much acting, man. Too much acting. Stop the acting. Just be real. Just talk. And that was a wonderful, challenge, just to keep it real. To just to I mean, I love guys like James Cagney or Jackie Gleason used to say, just or Spencer Tracy would say, hit your mark, look the other guy in the eye, and tell the truth. You know, that's your task. And to find, and what was really wonderful was like working with somebody like Lynn,
Mm-hmm.
who was a very, very wonderfully smart, intuitive actor. Um, and to find she was always looking for the truth. I mean, and everybody, Merle Dandridge, I mean, we, just want to be true to the character and to the situation, that we find ourselves in. And if anyone who has a relationship with church, and most black people in America have some relationship with church, even if
Right.
it's no relationship with the church, that in itself is a relationship.
or somebody in your family's got a
Or
real deep
somebody else
relationship
in your
with
family has
church.
has a
Yeah.
relationship with church. Well, then you know that within the context of the preacher's family,
Mm-hmm.
that first family is a can be a soap opera. You know what I mean? Because there's everything that happens to human beings happened to them. We'd like to think that it doesn't, or it won't, or it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, but it really does. And that's what I think we tried to uh, bring to the table, that life happens in the preacher's family. He's just a man. He puts his pants leg on one leg at a time. You know, you know the girls marry the wrong people. The guys cheat. I mean, there are things that happen. The bishop gets tempted. You know, even the wives have infidelities. Things happen. Life happens. the wonderful thing about, that you really come to understand is that the great loving God who, looks after us all is so wonderfully forgiving that it's you who need to forgive yourself and accept that relationship more than castigating God about trying to forgive you, because God will forgive you. But can you forgive?
Yeah. Wow. Well, the lovely Lynn Whitfield, back in March, uh, I was down in Washington D.C. and I was the announcer for the United Negro College Fund, and she was the host for the event. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, you should have a radio show." And she says, "Really?" So I'm going to try and at least get her on as a guest, and then we'll talk about uh, giving her an opportunity to do some radio. So now you've also been on the big screen, of course. There's only one other brother that I can think of that has probably had as many performances. I'm saying, when I'm saying performances, I'm talking about you do uh, TV, stage, film, video games, voiceovers. I mean, you are so the only other person I could think that has had as many or almost as many performances, or maybe you're right up there, is Sam Jackson. But Sam does mostly films, but you are constantly working also. How do you keep it all together?
Sometimes with great difficulty. But we do what we have to do. I mean, God is good all the time, really. I mean, uh, and back in the early days, you just didn't say no to anything.
Right, right, right.
Now, I mean, at this stage of my life, at least I get to be selective, and I get some wonderful selections. You know, I mean, I get some wonderful choices. Are there, looking back, are there things I wish I hadn't done? A couple, not a lot. I wish I hadn't done.
Anything you can name for us?
I could, but I'm not.
Oh.
I mean, it's like, don't
Okay.
think of white elephants in the room. If I mention it, that's going to be the first thing you go to.
Right. Okay. Well, so for those folks who may not know, uh, you are you've been the voice on so many voiceovers, and I don't know how they could not recognize your voice. And having been in the business for so long myself, I've done over 1,000 national radio and TV commercials, and but to see your resume, I mean, I'm looking through yours, I'm saying, wow, gee, wow. And there's one particular thing that stands out that you did for UPS.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah,
What can Brown do for you?
that's right. And every time I would hear that, I would say, I should have been doing that spot, because when I got out of the Marine Corps and came to New York City, I got a scholarship to Fordham University at Lincoln Center, and UPS paid for the scholarship.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
UPS.
wow.
So every time I'd hear you do that spot, I'd say to myself, after you say, "Well, what did Brown do for you?" I'd say, "They brought me to New York and paid for my scholarship."
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I came here and got into entertainment, and never looked back. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. But let's get back to you, my brother. Okay, now you even had the opportunity of working in a film with Chadwick Boseman,
Yeah.
the brother. He, deep brother, wonderful actor, gone much too soon. Can you give us an interesting story of what it was like working with him?
Um, One of the interesting things was, and we touched on it just very ever so briefly. 20 years ago,
Hmm.
I was the first guy to voice T'Challa. Um,
Really?
we did it was for, I think it was for Justice League or for Cartoon Network.
Hmm.
Did a we did a thing where I played the Black Panther, and
Wow.
at the time we had talked about, wow, let's make this a cartoon. Let's bring the Black Panther, to the screen.
Uh-huh.
It was not the time. They were not having it.
Hmm.
They were not. They were. I mean, like I said, it was 20 years ago. I mean, or maybe a little bit more, and they were not ready to have a brother be the hero.
Right.
In that sense, and be recognized as a black man, be a black man, and I mean, Spawn came later. Spawn came much later, and thank God for
Hmm.
Todd McFarlane that
Hmm.
you know that came into being. Um, but how? But we knew at the time that if it got the chance to fruition, what a great idea it would be. And look what it did.
Yes.
Look what it did.
Yes.
It more it I mean Chadwick had a career going before that, but it really launched. But it also took the Marvel universe into another atmosphere. It just it just shows you when you give a brother a shot, it can go.
Well, that's in so many things. I mean, and just this morning, they're touting the brother who saved the Capitol, who saved the politicians. Hey, we have invented so many things that people take for granted. You know, the just give us a shot, just give us a chance, and we'll help make the world better for you.
The thing is, you just talked about announcing the Negro College Fund. I remember it was Ossie Davis. You know, we're not looking for a handout. Just give me a hand.
Right.
Level the playing field. That's all. You don't have to give me nothing extra. Just give me the same opportunity,
That's all.
and see what happens. Just and recognize, acknowledge my humanity. Excuse me. And once that happens, we all get enriched by that. it it
That's
it serves us all. We are all empowered by that. you know um and it's taken you know you know 4 centuries to begin to really understand that.
mm, mm,
It's really something. But and if anything, if there's a positive element to this pandemic situation, you get to see that, I mean, all this, this systemic police brutality. you know um Now, white people can see that it's like, we're not making this up.
right.
We're not exaggerating case. These things are real, and they have been real. I mean, when going back to, I mean, I had a wonderful conversation about Birth of a Nation,
Mm,
and going back to those times
mhm.
when policing slaves. That's where all that brutality started.
Yeah, oh,
And
that's how the police came into existence because they needed someone to police the slaves.
Right. and it's what a it's just something that's been perpetuated and then exaggerated.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
thing is, they're going to be bad people on both sides. They're bad human beings. So we can't um, we can't, take away the police, but we do want to monitor them. What we want to do, what we want to do is hold them accountable.
Accountability.
That's
That's it.
that's the that's the thing.
That's the thing. Well, today is a very special day, not just because you're on What's Hot Harlem America with G. Keith Alexander, but today is Martin Luther King's birthday.
Yes.
And so let's give him a shout out, Martin, because he did.
Martin Luther King, you know what I mean? And like I said, I want to take my hat off to Nate Parker, for being so uh, diligent and for his insight.
Now, who is Nate Parker for our listeners?
Nate Parker, he's the writer director of American Skin, which is coming out or just came
Mm-hmm.
out, and Birth of a Nation.
Oh, right, American Skin.
Very talented young brother, very very talented, prolific brother. And I love this. I love the scope of his stories,
Mm-hmm.
and what he's done in American Skin is just just everybody should see it. Everybody should see it because just to get a personal interior view of what it feels like when your son is taken away from you, and just to want to hold somebody accountable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give away the public, but to go to whatever to go to the whatever lengths we have to just to hold the police accountable. If we really had that, that would go a long way to a lot of healing.
Sure, sure, sure. We've got less than 2 minutes now, and I just want to remind you, since we're both voiceover artists, that I'm really, really honored to be able to say that there was a day, I don't know if you remember, we were both in a session for United Negro College Fund, and I came into the studio and gave you a line read. Do you remember that?
I remember the incident. I don't remember the line, but I do remember. I remember that. I remember that meeting going, "Hey, thank you, brother."
Yeah. I mean, I was honored to do it because I mean, you don't need me to give you a line read, but for whatever reason, the producer said, "G. Keith, he's not quite getting that line right. Would you go in and give him a line read?" And so I did, and I was honored to be able to do so.
Listen. If you're gonna take it from the best. Mhm.
Oh, that's so kind of you. So now we're winding down with about a minute before we go to break, and sometimes my glasses get foggy, and what looks like a seven might be a minute. So when you see me looking over like that, I'm trying to see exactly how much time we got left. But I also want to let people know that you have also worked with uh, Kevin Hart and and Tiffany Haddish. Uh,
Yes, indeed.
what was that like on the set? Was it a funny set?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I played Kevin's father. Well, played. This is 17 years ago, because my daughter was first born,
Mhm.
and we did a thing called um,
Well, while
Son.
you think of it, let me hold you off right there. We've got 30 seconds, and I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the wonderful actor, Mr. Keith David, and we'll come back. We'll talk about his experience on the set with Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, and much, much more. I'm G. Keith Alexander. Thank you for hanging out in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay, Keith David was actually born in Harlem. So just tell us one of the things that you really enjoy about Harlem since you're here in Harlem, America.
I just love the whole Harlem vibe. Especially back when I was growing up, there were so many wonderful. It was the early '60s, and there was so many programs that was meant to help people, and there were lunch programs, there were educational programs. I went to Camp Minnesink,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, mini sync up on
142nd Street,
yeah.
by the New York Mission Society. And actually, I was three generations Minnesink, because Gladys V. Thorne, we called her Thorny,
Hmm.
who was the head of Minnesink. Actually, before that, she was a counselor for what was it called? The Campfire Girls, I think it was called. And my grandmother was one of Thorny's girls. And then my mother and my aunt went to Camp Minnesink,
Hmm.
or we did, and my brother and I went to Camp Minnesink. And early on, when I was between 9, 10, 11, um, I did lots of programs down there at Menacing. They had Chuck Davis was down there. You mentioned your child's mother was a dancer. Chuck Davis had those dancers down there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, it was a fantastic time. You know.
Well, Harlem is still fantastic and getting even better. Now, so let's get back to working with Kevin and Tiffany. You were getting ready to tell us a
Yeah,
story?
the big, no, no, no. The Big House was um, it was a sitcom that I did with Kevin like 17 years ago,
Hmm.
and I didn't get a chance to meet Tiffany at that time because we had no scenes together. All that they had their scenes together, but
Gotcha.
one scene that we did have together, I was sitting in the audience of the auditorium at the final like graduation. He goes to night school and graduates.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I didn't get a chance to meet her, but she's very very nice lady, very funny. You know,
Is
and
Kevin always on?
uh, no, not I mean, has he grown up from the Big House to night school? Yeah, I mean, again, given the opportunity, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, of course, and the other thing is, and he's also he's made young boy mistakes, and he's made old man mistakes,
Yeah, as we all have.
as we all do. I mean, part
Yeah,
of part of the biggest difference is um, the average guy is not in the news when he makes their mistakes.
right, right,
It doesn't make headlines,
right.
but he makes everyday man mistakes the way men do. Um, and I really and I pray that he has learned from them, and from again, from the media reporting. I don't talk to him every day, but every once in a while, we speak, and he's doing much better and doing well.
Great, great,
And
great.
what I mean, you got to give a guy a shot. We all make mistakes,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
should give him the opportunity to come back from them. Now, some people come back better than others.
Well,
It ain't my place to judge.
exactly. And speaking of judging, and also you said prayer, praying. Didn't you record the Bible once?
I did a recording of the Bible. Yes, uh, I did an audio. It's not like it's not the whole, but I recorded. I think it's called the story of the Bible.
Ah, okay, okay, all right.
Isn't
Well,
the Bible proper? Like in the.
right. Well, now or
But I would.
sure. Now, certainly but for a lot of folks who are listening, uh, they call people like us the voice of God, because we do the voiceovers and we get behind the microphone and do announcing or whatever the case may be. And the producer might say, okay, it's time for the voice of God now. Well, I used to be, I used to not like that term because I thought that they meant, that I'm speaking for God, and I and that wasn't what I was doing. However, Do you know who Alexander Scorby is?
I do know who Alexander Scorby. I know his voice.
Yes. Alexander Scorby was an old time radio guy that was booked to record the Bible. He recorded the whole Bible. And because he was the first one to record the whole Bible, they started referring to him as the voice of God. And because other people came behind, to and use the microphone and so forth and so on, that's how we got the designation as VOG, or voice of God.
Isn't that funny?
So that's for folks who don't know where that term comes from. It was Alexander Scorby.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about some other things, since your career and performances, you become part of our culture. So let's talk a little bit about your lifestyle. What passions do you have?
Oh, I love riding horses with my two great buddies, Oba Babatunde and
Oh, Oba, yeah. Oba's got a horse farm or something, right?
yes, indeed, and Glenn Thurman.
Yeah, well, I know both of them. Yeah.
Glenn has and Camp Giddy Up, and Oba is a trainer. Oba trains horses, and
Oh, really?
he's like the horse whisperer.
Oba is great. I Oba can do Sammy Davis Jr. Uh, he's incredible. You would think you're watching Sammy.
Right.
You know, he's and Glenn. Let's see, what has he been in recently? I think I. Oh yes, okay, all right, okay, yeah. Glenn used Glenn used to skate up at Metropolis when I used to skate at Metropolis. Glenn used to go skating up there. Um, so all right, well make sure you tell both of them I said hello. In fact, maybe I'd like to get them on the show as well.
All right.
Let's see. So some of the video game last year or year before last, 2019, I got a chance to do my first video game.
Okay.
And they told me, and they put the thing on my head, and the microphone on me and stuff, and I had to play this character. In fact, they told me it's one of the biggest selling video games, but they had me sign a non-disclosure contract, so I can't even reveal what the video game is or the character that I played. But you have played many roles in video games. You have played. How many video games have you done?
The Arbiter, and I've played Captain Anderson. I've done it in Mass Effect. I can't even think. I think of the other.
What do you like about video games?
It's they're like making many movies nowadays. Some the artwork is brilliant,
Yes.
and what they're able to do. It's just remarkable. But it's like acting. Good acting is good acting wherever you're doing it from. So I really do enjoy the opportunity for doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I could do more. I hope I'll be able to do more.
We all hope we could do more.
Yeah. Yes. So, all right. So then, you've got anything coming up? I think I mentioned before you've got two films coming up this year or something.
I know I have one coming out called Horizon Line,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one is Black as Night. And I get to play my first Dracula.
Really? You get to play Dracula?
Before William Marshall, I wanted to be the first Black Dracula.
Right. He was Count Blackula.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Blackula. And that, oh my God, that was so fabulous because you talk about big voices. William Marshall was one of the great.
Oh yes. He was so stately and so
Yes.
elegant in his, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Count Blackula. Yeah. So those are coming out. Anything else you got coming up?
I am working on a show right now about the life of Joe Williams,
Joe, what a great voice he had.
called "Here's to Life," and
Hmm.
look out for it. We're steady working on it. It's and it's a it's a beautiful story.
Really. Wow. Excuse me. For those who don't know who Joe Williams is, Joe Williams was, how would you?
Well, I mean, he started rising to fame once he started. I mean, once he got with the Count Basie band, which he stayed with for 6 years, he
Mhm.
rose to the top with us. His first big single was "All Right, Okay, You Win."
Yes, sir. Right. I
Love it.
remember that. All
Birth-
right.
Every
Okay.
day I have the blues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, later on in life, of course, he very, very famously sang "Here's to Life." Um, but his discography. I mean, he just sang so many beautiful, beautiful songs.
He certainly did. And
And I mean, he played Cosby's grandfather. But he also was in a Cannonball Adderley wrote a play like a jazz opera called Big Man.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Robert Guillaume was in it,
Oh, yes. Okay.
and Joe played John Henry. Anybody
Oh.
looking for a big man? Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
wonderful piece.
Wow, that's great. Well, hey, we're going to have to leave it here, Keith. This has been wonderful to get to know more about your career and your life, and to be able to have some laughs with you. And it won't be the last time, I assure you. And to be here with such a great talent, a great voice. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very, very much. And
Well,
those of you who joined us,
to you,
I'm,
my brother, and always great hearing you.
well,
And
thank you.
yes, let's chop it up again.
Fantastic. And those of you who are here, thank you so very much. I wish you a healthier and happier new year. I wish you excellent health, massive wealth, passionate love, and uncontrollable happiness in the year 2021 and beyond. Have a great day and a better one tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you for listening.